Welcome to Dying to Know, where we open up about everything that comes with losing a loved one.
Because the only thing that's worse than death is not being able to talk about it.
We're your Bereavement Babes, Leah and Rachel, and today we have an interview. So Rachel, today is our second interview.
Our first in-person interview.
Yes, which we were really excited about.
Yes, and today we're going to be interviewing Amethyst, also known as MentAll Fashion through Instagram.
Yes.
And that's also how we're finding our interviews, which is amazing, but we got lucky with this amazing connection. I feel like she's going to have a really beautiful story to share with all of us.
Yes, as you know, I am definitely a fashion girly,
Yes.
So I am excited to talk to her and learn about her grief journey and then also what she does through fashion to help others.
Yeah, and bring a new experience to the podcast.
Yeah, some new perspective here. Let's get into it. Hi, Amethyst. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. Really excited to talk to you today and get to know you a little bit more and share you with our audience.
So I'm excited.
Yes. So
I'm
let's hop
excited.
right in. So as you know, Amethyst, this is Dying to Know. We started this podcast after me and Rachel both lost our fathers in 2021. So we channel our grief through this podcast, and hopefully we are helping our listeners and watchers. So I just wanted to ask you first about your grief journey and how it got you to where you are today in your fashion consulting.
So it started, I lost my sister first. So now my twin and I are the eldest of all of the siblings. So I lost my older sister, and I wasn't as close just because it was separate parents. So same dad, but different mom. So I didn't grow up too much with her, but I was like 18, reconnected, was like, I'm not going to listen to what the family says. So I got to know her, and then just, some more family stuff kind of like separated me from her. And the last message I remember is on my birthday, she was like, can you call me? And I hadn't spoken to her in 6 years, and I never made the call back. So then it took me to a place where I was just, I didn't eat for like a lot of days. And I was looking for any and everything to kind of just pull me out of that state, because I was just like, what is this? Like, how do you lose your sibling?
Yeah.
And then I remember going with my older brother, because they grew up together, because my mom and obviously we have this, my older brother, we have the same mom, but different dads. So they kind of went together, and they were growing up together. They were the older ones. They were like 30, I would say they were like 33 and 36. So, growing up together. So we went together, and he was like, that doesn't look like her. So then we take this long trip down to Georgia to go see our mom. And then I think it's about 9 months later, I lost him. And I was like, before I could feel the grief fully of one, I had lost my older brother, and he was like the closest person to me. And I have, no qualms about sharing or TMI for some people, but at the age of 16, I actually was sexually assaulted, and he was the person who found them, went after them, and our bond, he was my protector in all senses of the word. And on an emotional level, he was a bigger guy, so I always felt protective of him, when people would call him fat or any of those things. So even though he used to call me like his little big sister, I was always putting him onto things.
Yeah.
But no matter where he went, no matter how much money he had in his pocket, whatever it is, he always made sure to put himself together. Because I know it's that stigma, if you're a bigger guy, you got to have something going for you. Your fashion has to be something. And
some money or something. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to be funny. One of those things. So he was like, what do you think about these sneakers? What do you think? He was always fashion. And that was just our thing. I didn't realize it at the time, but he always came to me, what do you think about this outfit? What do you think about my hair? What do you think about this? And we both shared that level of insecurities within ourselves. So when I lost him, I was like, every time I got a win, I felt like I could go to him and share my wins. And then when he was gone, I was in so much disbelief that I didn't even give myself the grief or what people think it's supposed to look like. I just went straight into posting. And so my first few posts are, because he does music, so I just took one of my favorite songs by him, and each of my captions were just lines from his song until it was going to run out. And that was me accepting that he's gone. So it was just every lyric, I kept breaking it up and breaking it up and breaking it up until I finally got to the last one, and it was just labeled the outro. And I used my fashion to kind of kind of get through that, because a lot of times, especially in like Caribbean and like Black homes, you don't really get to say what you want to say. It's like speak when you're spoken to and stuff like that. So my fashion was that. It was how I was able to speak. It was, if I'm feeling good, you could tell. If I'm feeling sad, you could tell. If I'm feeling you could also tell.
Yeah.
And that just was something that we like bonded on. And the fashion, I was like, well, how do I help other people now that I've like somewhat kind of just started my grief journey?
Yeah. So interesting to hear that like you lost your siblings so close together, and to hear the journey you took to really heal about your brother's passing. Was he a singer or a rapper?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both? Okay.
But probably more like rapping, yeah.
Okay, more rapping. And then with your sister, I know she passed first, and then your brother just months later. How did you process hers enough before that even hit you?
I didn't, only because the thing is, I felt guilty. I wasn't as sad. I was sad because I had lost a sibling, but I didn't have those memories that I did with my brother. I didn't grow up with her. I didn't, just by whatever like problems my parents had, I didn't get to know her. And then the first time me getting to know her, it was more family things that took me away from her. And of course, I'm going to believe who I've known my whole life. Come to find out, it was like false, but it's just like I can't tell her that I'm sorry now,
Gotcha,
you know? And so
yeah.
I felt guilt. And so I guess my brain detached me from that. And I still hold that sometimes where I'm like, I feel so sad when I think about him, but with her, I'm not as sad. And I kind of like beat myself up for a really long time about it, because
Yeah.
I'm just like, you lost both, but you only feel sad. And they're both like half siblings, but I still...
Yeah, the relationship was different.
The relationship was
The
different.
relationship was different on this side. And, you know, I hope now in your grief journey that you feel a little bit more at peace about it with your sister. Like you reconciled it a bit if you have, yeah. And if not, it's a journey, so.
It is. I'm starting to.
I
will say I'm starting to.
Okay. Yeah, because there's no right or wrong answer there.
Yeah.
So with your brother, you said you took his lyrics, you started to put them on your posts, and that you both kind of shared fashion together, and it was unknowingly until his actual passing. So since this podcast was me and Rachel channeling our own grief through this platform, how do you feel like fashion has helped you channel your grief with dealing with the loss of your siblings? And then do you also think, on top of that, do you think it's a good thing to channel it? Like I know we've talked about on here maladaptive and adaptive behaviors.
Yeah.
So adaptive behaviors are a little bit more like positive things or healthy things.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a healthy way of doing that. I'm obsessed with clothes.
Yes.
So I just want to know what's your take on that, like channeling your grief?
I think, well, I can't even say think. I know for me, it is what I needed to do. I am a very like introverted person in the sense that I do have a drain around, and it gets annoying when you have to keep like explaining to people. There's very few people who have dealt with grief who understand where I don't have to say anything, and I can call them and say, hey, I could say like Tuesday, and they'll know what I mean, and they'll just be on the phone with me for hours. And so when you don't have a system, a support system, friends like that, or family members that you can do that with, you need it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you need to channel it, and then you can turn it into something beautiful. So when I first started, I was channeling, into this, but I actually found things that I love. I was able to just help a lot of other women feel that way. And then I kind of started to work towards shifting. Like when you do a big shift, whether it's a loss, new job, your mom, career, whatever it is, how do you want to show up? And it had always been negative growing up because it's just like, oh, you have to look presentable. But now I felt like I wanted to really step forward, and I'm channeling that. I'm learning more about myself. I'm learning about like self-care. I'm learning about colors. I'm learning about like just me.
Yeah.
And how do I want to show up? And what do I think that, or what I feel grief looks like? And so many people, oh, you got to feel this way. You got to cry. You got to this. Yes, that's normal. It's going to happen. But it's whatever makes you feel good. It's your journey. And no one should have any say on how you're supposed to move forward.
Yeah, period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, exactly.
That didn't even need any like 2 cents. I completely agree with that. So speaking, since you are a fashion consultant, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then doing this through your grief, I'm just curious to like, what is your process? Like if we were a client take us into a peek of what this world looks like. Do you only work with people who are experiencing grief? Is this anyone who's like just lacking confidence or just looking for a new way of showing up in life? Like, what does that look like?
It's all the above.
Okay.
And just like the breakdown of the name, so it's MentAll Fashion. So it's like mentals and, mental state, and then it's mentals and like meant all. So it's just like meant for everybody because fashion, it goes forever, but your style is innate. So you got to understand like the foundation and basics of fashion, and then you'll put your style, your spin on anything. So I've worked with women who are going into tech, and they're like, well, how do I show up professionally but still have my flair? And sometimes it turns into like a little therapy session. They're like, oh, well, I don't like my arms, or I don't like this. So then you find ways to like adapt and switch and say, okay, well, what do you have right now that you feel comfortable in, and what do you need to get to that point? Some people are just, I had a mom, like I'm a mom, I had a baby, like I'm not too happy with this area until it comes down. So it's just like, well, how do I start to feel sexy again? How do I start doing those things for myself? And it's just like a shift for like whatever shift you're going for. Now, I specifically like to work with women of color, and that is my expertise, and that's who I've worked with, just because that element of not always getting to say what you wanted to say growing up, it is understood, and then we're unpacking so much more, and a lot of times people will go to black, but that is also a sense of your inner child not healed. You don't wear colors, because black is a color of protection. It is for safety. It is considered like luxury and stuff like that, but it's more safety. So when women are like, oh, this, and they show me their closet, I'm like, everything's black in here. Like, where's the color? Oh, I got red lipstick. It's just like, okay, they're not comfortable letting out. No one's saying you gotta like dress in all the colors of the rainbow, but throwing in those colors is like a form of like healing over time. And then once they start to do that, I don't tell them, but they're starting to feel like, oh, I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm shining a little bit brighter, because you're not trying to hide yourself and conceal it in those darker shades.
Wow. I love the whole MentAll Fashion like name, because it is a mental situation. I worked in retail for years, definitely not for me. But it is a therapy session in those fitting rooms about like underarm fat. Like I've heard that parts of bodies, the way women will tear their bodies down or want to hide things. It was so like astonishing to me, because I didn't have a parent that was like that. My mom was never like that. I didn't talk to myself like that. So to hear people say that, and for you to double down on it, like it is a therapy session for your clients, I can only imagine. But I do want to ask you about the color black, because I do wear a lot of black, and this is not about me, but I know that you're saying like that is a color that people hide behind. Do you think it's also regional? I hear a lot of East Coast, like city people, like the New York people wear a lot of black just because of the region. Like, does color theory have to do with region? Because obviously if I lived in Hawaii, maybe I would wear more like lime greens, but is there any thought into that as well? Like where people live, how they show up, and what colors they wear?
I think there's definitely truth to that, but what I will say is that all colors carry energy. It's more what you're gravitating towards. So without getting too like into it, but so this color that I have on here, it is like a rust brown.
Okay.
And the reason it's rust brown as opposed to being like neon orange is because it's the mix of a darker shade, which would be like black or something like that, mixed with the orange, which would give me this color.
Okay.
I'm still choosing the darker version of it instead of like a brighter version, like a bright pop orange. That would be white added to it. So it would make it a bit brighter. So no matter where you are, if you are choosing darker shades or colors, it is not all the time like hiding yourself. It could also be just a form of protection. It makes you feel safe because it's just like a safety thing. If you think about it, seatbelts and stuff like that, they're black. If you think about, a lot of things that strap you in, they're black. You go on like all of these places that you go to, a
like
lot of those, exactly, they're black, and it is that armor, like it's protection. You don't see people fighting battle with like these bright green like things, just like no, it's a sense of like that being hidden, and not in the bad sense, because it is good to hide certain things, because not everybody deserves those parts of you. So sometimes we think that like hiding ourselves is a bad thing and concealing, but it's like when you have the people who are worthy of those like energies and stuff like that, you can kind of do that. So even if you are across any part in the states, countries, yes, it is accessibility, but it is more so the energy when you're wearing it. How do you feel? If you have, the option to put on this color versus this one, just kind of make note of how you feel when you're in it. Like walking into a meeting and you feel like powerful because maybe you do have that arm fat or something like that. It's going to conceal it, and it makes you show up to be a bit more like professional because that insecurity is hidden, and it makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're wearing like a white top that's going to show every ripple, every cellulite, and I got a lot of it, so it's just like you don't want to kind of show that off, or maybe you'll put it in the center and then put black on top.
Wow. What do you think comes first? Do you think it's our mental state and then we go to our closet and drawer and choose the color that we subconsciously aren't thinking about? Or do you think it's vice versa? We see something, it speaks to us, and then it changes our mental? Or could it be both?
I think it's both.
Okay.
So if you're going shopping, the mental part is first. I've noticed that, let's say my friend's like, oh, we're going to go to a concert. How do I want to feel at that concert? You can put on 10 different outfits that you've loved in other occasions, but you go into a concert, you want to feel a certain way. You want to feel vibrant. You want to feel like happy, carefree. Yeah. So then you like, let me go for something looser clothing. I don't want to be tight. I don't want to be like restricted, or I don't want to feel uncomfortable. So then you do that when you're shopping. And then in your closet, it's the same thing. How do you want to show up for that day? So if I'm going in, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be going to the office, do like a couple things, and I'm going to leave. But I want to be comfortable, I'm going to go for what's comfortable. And then sometimes the color comes next. So if I have that one top that it hugs me right here, it's flowy here, it's tight here, I feel good, I'm going to go to it. And then the color, and then it's what I choose after to kind of like complement that outfit. If I'm not just choosing the same color to make like a monochromatic look or a tonal look or whatever, it's just, I think it always just starts with the mindset, like where you want to be and then what you have.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's what you have in your closet.
Yeah. Wow. That's so good. Because that's so true. Like anytime I'm getting dressed, I'm like, depending on where I'm going, how you want to show up, what do you want to look like.
Yeah.
And then you put clothes on that make you feel a certain way depending on the event you're going to. And because I'm a fashion girly, do you think silhouettes play into that? Like an A-line versus like a pencil skirt versus I want to wear a deep V to a crop top, like showing more skin, hiding more skin. Does that also read or align with the color theory of it all as well?
I know it does, especially for me. And then it also is the stage of life and also your trauma and all. It's all like mental
encompassed in there. Okay.
Yeah. So like for me, I've always been like busty my whole life. So I'm just like, nah, we got to cover those things up. So I'm just like, how do I still show up as being a little bit sexy without doing a super deep V? And then it's like, let's focus on my collarbone. That for me, that's my favorite part of my body, is just my collarbone. And so that might mean I look good in like an asymmetrical top where I can show this off, and then it creates dimension and shape on the body, which draws your eye all over without you having to be like, okay, too much. But if, let's say, you like when I was younger, probably shirts were probably real down deep down here, and I'm just like, well, I don't care, I'm carefree, like let's just like just be free. And it's always like the stage of life that you're in, and then it's understanding what your sexy or your the feeling that you want to have. So maybe some people love to show off their back, but they're not too comfortable here, or they want to show off a little asymmetrical and into here. And then like with the silhouettes like blazers and stuff like that, it is like shoulder pads. It's good for certain body types, of course. It balances you out, but it's also like just taking up space. It is sitting more open. It is not a tight blazer that makes you feel like you're crunched in here. It makes you feel like you're just that girl.
Yes.
Like you're in that moment and you're just like, okay, I'm here. I'm taking up space. And you're not trying to like shrink yourself. And that's one thing that I did have to learn, is I always shrunk myself all the time. And I was just like, no, I'm going to show up and take up space, and I'm going to accentuate for my body type, and I'm going to make sure that I look the way that I want to feel. And it's going to come up. And those compliments, they start.
Yeah, because confidence, when you wear confidence, that's something different.
Yes.
You're being a trash bag. You know what I mean? I mean, not that that's desirable for anyone. And I, even hearing you say like sexy is broad. You know what I mean? It's a big umbrella. Someone thinks that's cleavage. Someone thinks that's their legs. Someone thinks they have sexy ankles. Like whatever that is, you can put that on Front Street and really like do it to the max. So within your work that you are currently doing with the fashion consulting and learning more about this color theory, which I think is so fascinating, and even just your personal grief story and just life through all the work that you have done sitting in this chair right now, how do you feel like, what have you learned about yourself through this whole journey of like the grief from losing your siblings to really turning your grief into this profession of yours, and then even exchanging energy with other clients who are either experiencing grief or just need to feel a little bit more confident or sexy? And I know you touched on this a little bit, but just to dive deeper into that, how has that helped you? How do you feel like where you are right now?
The time is now.
Time is now.
The time is just now. I spent so much time hiding me to try and fit into a space that was never meant for me. And that feeling of knowing that you're your own captor, it sucks. And when you lose people that gave you that bit of release to come out of the box and they're gone, it's just like, well, no one's going to do it for you anymore. You have to do it. And my older brother and I, we could talk about like insecurities, like weight, this, that, like fluctuating, like, oh, why don't they like me? Why don't they? And it's just like, no, they don't understand you. They're not worthy of you. And so I had to kind of tap into that and be like, no, I'm not the weird person in the room. I'm not the abnormal person in the room. I'm not the misunderstood. You guys are just not on the level I am right now, and you're not meant to inhabit my space. And I have to find people who understand where I'm at right now. I will still keep friends and, stuff like that, because the relationships and the love will always be there. But you have to kind of like go out and find your own tribe. And I'm starting to learn that a lot of the things that I liked as a kid, people, why are you doing that? Like, this is like, I listen to almost every single music type you can think of.
Okay.
I was like teaching myself languages when I was like younger, doing all of these things that like I couldn't relate with anybody, but I kept it inside. So no one knew. So they just like, okay, Amethyst is this, and this. And then when you start to release all of these things that you've been interested in, you'd be amazed at the people that you connect with. And I realized if I spent even a second more hiding that, I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't realize how much I love clothing, how much I love feeling good, how much I love self-care, how much I love like actually giving back to myself and not harming myself, whether that's my mental state, a physical, anything. I just had to show up for me and let all the beautiful things that have already existed kind of just let them out. And then the people who are meant to be there, you'll find them, or they'll find you a lot of the times.
Yeah.
They'll find you.
Interesting that now you're learning to like live in your truth and just be who you are unapologetically.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word, unapologetic.
Yeah. I think experiencing those losses, at least personally speaking for me, it gives almost like a new leaf on life. It's like a part of me has already died with that person that I loved, and now this is a new me. And just knowing that life is short, right? Like nothing's promised besides death in this life. So it's like no matter what you like, love, or want to do, it makes sense just to do it and do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah, that's so true. I couldn't even sum it up another way.
Yes, love that for you. Okay, so by sharing your story today about your grief journey and just currently what you're doing in the fashion consulting world, is there any last words you would like to leave for our listeners? Maybe for someone that's currently grieving, or for that Black girlie who is not feeling her look or outfit, like any last words or advice, whichever way you want to go, just to share with our listeners today.
Yes. So I just want to say, like, be that awkward version of you. Like, you can label it as awkward to start, that's fine, but just like be you. Don't try and like look for a trend. Don't try and show up as what you think, but also don't keep yourself in that box and think that, oh, I'm impersonating. You're finding. I could tell you, middle school, eyeliner down to here, out here. I had the teased hair up top, straight down here.
Yeah. Were you sneaking makeup to school?
No. So I would just take it, and I was so rebellious, but not rebellious. Like, I would play the violin with extra rosin. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make this house loud. Like, I'm not going to sneak out, but you're going to hear me play for extra hours. And I'm just like, but I just like so many things that I was just like finding myself. But I love like heavy metal. I love country music. I love all of this. I love like soca. I love, like, you're gonna catch me at so many fetes this summer. Like, but I also love like R&B. Like, I love classical. All of those things. You don't have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Stop trying to separate who you are from what you like. They're synonymous. If you're around the right people, you don't have to show every part to every person, and understand that that is okay. There's going to be a group of friends for each part of you. There'll be that rare unicorn who, they might not get you, but they're always going to be there. Stop trying to like forge these fake friendships, because a lot of the fake friendships have led to my own demise, and it has hurt myself internally. It's stunted my growth. It has made me lose sight of who I actually really am, and I started to try and like be something that I wasn't, and that made me feel really disgusting now that I look back at it. And I'm like, why did I spend so much time trying to like pretend? So don't pretend, don't try and like discover yourself well within your rights, but in your gut, like, what's you and what isn't. And when you're faking it.
Yeah, you really got to grow through what you go through. Like, and trust your instincts. Like, really believe in yourself. And I know that sounds like cliche, corny, and something that we hear constantly, but it's really true. Like, once you start living for yourself, you really just show up and attract things and people that really are meant for you.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, this is a selfish question, but I would like to know, what does my color say about me today? Like, what am I even wearing? What is this, blue? Or what shade of blue is this? I know you know like specific colors.
You are. I mean, I could bring out my Pantone, but you're wearing like a dark blue. So again, when we touched on, one is black involved, and you're adding black, so it's a level of protection.
Okay.
And then versus we're like pale blue, anything like that. But blue is kind of like harmonious. So it is a color of like tranquility, just calm. And there's a whole bunch of, like a whole bunch of other like sides to it, but it also plays into like the cuts of this. Are you trying to like, show a little bit more like deep into, and then
we talked about those silhouettes too.
Yes.
Okay.
And then also going into like body type like as well. I can't fully see your body shape.
Yeah.
But when you have like the tightness and like that's showing like who you are, so that you're like brighter. Okay. You're creating a deeper line to like elevate like from here to here to keep it the focal point. And then the blue is keeping everything like in harmony.
Oh, I love
with
this.
Like the different, like blue goes with like silver and stuff like that. But by contrasting it with gold, it's like kind of like shining a little bit brighter. I mix jewelry all the time, but that's just the rule of what you're...
Okay.
Yeah, like undertones. Like technically I'm neutral, so I can wear gold and silver.
Okay.
But if you are, you might look different. If you ever do your color analysis, you'll find out the right shade of blue for you.
Oh, I love this. I'm going to do a color... Do you do color analysis?
I don't.
Okay.
But there are in the city. You can probably go to like a place in like Koreatown. They have something like that. Or you can just grab this app on your phone. I think it's like Style DNA. You take a picture, certain type of lighting, and it'll tell you. So I'm a warm autumn, which means I look good in colors like this.
Okay.
Like this, or like a sage green, like those kind of things. And then for you, you might be like a deep winter or something like this. You might look good in like majestic purples, the deeper versions of blues, accentuated with black, deeper reds. So you'll kind of start to like figure out your own journey.
Oh, I'm loving this. Okay, I'm going to try that. And I wore blue. I wanted this to be like a peaceful environment. I'm not sure about the neckline choice, but...
That's a good thing. Yeah. It's like showing off like you.
Yeah, being open. We're having a conversation.
I'm like... I'm open.
So I love that. And I feel like I always go to gold. I just recently learned that like gold attracts the sun and silver attracts the moon. So I've been trying to do like silver. I
didn't know about the silver.
Nighttime. Yeah. I don't know how I feel like I show up in silver, so I usually stick to gold. Okay. Promise my last question here. And I feel like it's a good one. So you are our second interview. In our first interview, we asked the interviewer if they wanted to have like a ghost buddy in the afterlife, but you're a fashion girly, so I'm not even going there with you. So if you were to leave this earth tomorrow, what would you wear and what color would you wear?
Man, I would just have a whole fashion show. I would pull out every single thing in my closet. But one thing I would probably tap into, so I started posting a little bit. I would leave this world in a sporty outfit. I've never done it.
Okay.
Like I was going to high school in pencil skirts, y'all. Like pencil skirts.
Really? You were business casual.
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. And I had half my head shaved.
Okay.
With like a blouse, heels, and like stockings, tight. I was just like nose ring, but like business casual. I was like, I spent so much in like constricting clothing, and just especially growing up in like a Caribbean household. My dad's like, well, you look like street people. Why are you going outside? Like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was like, all right, I won't do it. Stain on my shirt. Let's go into the store, buy a new one. So I never got to be casual.
Wow.
I never got to actually just be me. And like, I do incorporate, you know, like girly elements to it, but I want to wear sneakers. And on top of that, this is like to my brother.
Okay.
He was, I'm still figuring it out, a sneakerhead. And I would be like, what's this shoe? Okay, so if you want to go here, this is that. This is the Jordan 11 with the stripes something. I don't know what he was saying.
Okay. I'm like, do you know the sneaker?
No, I do not.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I won't pretend that I do. Okay. But like, he always wore sneakers, and I wish that I could tap into that without feeling like street people, as my family would say. So I'm just like, I want to like channel that version of him, but like with me,
but with
and
your
actually,
own flair on it.
because I don't own sneakers. I
not one pair.
I have like one for the gym, throwaway shoes. That's really it. But everything is heels, or sandals.
But like an actual shoe.
I don't even think just heels.
Just
Heels, or like a sandal.
What are you doing in winter? Are you wearing like lace-up boots, some Doc Martens, anything?
No, I have a lot of hacks for shoes. So I am wearing heeled boots, and I'm putting the grips on the bottom. I'm also sticking the caps on the heel so I don't slide. And I'll throw on like a UGG or something, and then literally switch the minute I get into the office, or the minute I go anywhere. I have a bag that's like, I'm switching.
Yeah. Wow, you missed the whole athleisure craze. I feel like after the pandemic, no one wants to wear a bra, no one wants to wear real clothes, and you are out here pumping in a heel in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I really am impressed.
I'm glad my feet don't hate me at this point. But no. I want to kind of tap into being a little bit more casual.
More casual. Okay.
Yeah, kind of letting things flow.
Yeah, go out more relaxed. That's nothing wrong with that. I feel like to your family, I am street people. I want to be in a legging and a pullover hoodie for the rest of my life, and a sports bra. But Amethyst, thank you for joining us today. If you don't mind telling people where they can find you, all your social handles, and if someone is interested in getting into the mental fashion and wants to be a new client, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on... I'm like, oh, no, let's just stick with Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, don't invade that other space just
and we'll
yet.
add it to the credits and stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's MentAll Fashion, MentAll, fashion, all one word. And you can send me a DM. You can comment. You can like a post. Like, I'm pretty, like, I'm not trying to like, I'm like, wherever you need to reach me at that point, I will try and make myself most available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Amethyst, thank you again for joining us today. I really just want to thank you personally for sharing your story with us, because you didn't have to do it. Yeah. Also, thank you for the work that you are doing in the grief community. It's much needed. It's fun, which is strange to say. I mean, maybe it's fun for me because I enjoy fashion, but it was really interesting. Thank you for being receptive to our messages and just being just the cool, badass woman that you are. Really appreciate having you on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Leah, that was great. It was an amazing story.
Thank you.
It was really refreshing to hear a new point of view and to hear how someone else has channeled their grief, because I feel like our podcast entity is how we channel it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see how people are turning their grief into something that they can also spread to everyone else.
Agreed. And I really love talking to her about this like new leaf on life she has.
Yes.
Like what she's learned about.
So inspirational.
Yes. About her grief and like knowing like the type of music she listens to and like how she's living a little bit more louder and prouder and just standing in her truth. I think that is something that me and you have spoke about on here, outside of here, and other people who experience grief as well. Just like we only have one life to live.
Yes. And for the next episode where we're really going to recap what's going on, we have a little surprise / challenge for everyone that she gave us because I will say it was so inspirational to see how fashion just drives so much of us. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we're excited and a little lighter to kind of bring a little bit more fashion to that next episode. We can...
Yeah, I cannot wait to dive into that. I feel like we learned a lot hearing about color theory on camera and off camera. Yes. So it's really going to be fun, and I can't wait to bring that to everyone.
Me too. I'm excited.
Today's episode is dedicated to Amethyst's oldest brother, Amias, known to some people as Uncle Grizzly. She wrote, he was very passionate about music and making sure those around him always felt safe and loved despite his tough exterior. Again, we're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel. Thanks for grieving with us.